Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Today we are looking at some more malicious compliance stories. I hope you enjoy them. The first story is called New Manager Wants New Rules. I worked in a help desk that was unionized for a few years. It was pretty casual and we took our union breaks and lunches when we weren't busy. When an internal position opened to become the manager of the department, I had all the requirements and credentials for the position. So I submitted my resume. Little did I know, and I found this out much later, that they created the position so a network engineer could be given a raise. Otherwise, he threatened to leave. So I waited for 2 weeks and heard nothing from HR. One morning, in strolls the network engineer into the help desk. He points at me and my coworkers and says, "No more breaks. Your lunch is at 12 and your lunch is at 1. And then he continues to issue edicts. Shortly after he finished, an HR rep comes in and lets us know that he is our new manager. I tell my coworkers, I'm going to take my last 15-minute union break and leave the room. I happen to be on a first-name basis with the union president, who balances the time between her job at my company and union work. I come into her office, close the door and fill her in on all the new rules that violate our contract. She gets a wicked smile and says she will be right back. I know she's going to put on her butt-kicking boots. I go back to my desk, notice the new manager's door is closed and let my coworkers know what's up. She must have read him the riot act because shortly thereafter he comes out of his office completely deflated. He starts pointing to each of us in order. You get 2 breaks per union rules, but there will be at 10:15 and 2:15. So each person starts doing just that. If we were on call with someone at our break time, we would put them on hold and audibly proclaim the same line. I'm going on my union-mandated break, in which my manager has decreed will be at exactly 10:15. That lasted about a day before he got complaints. We told him that we worked just fine when we took our breaks and lunches at whatever pace the corporation was that day. There was a slew of other things from the union rulebook that we learned. And things got very rough for him until he started to loosen the reins so we could work cooperatively, as we had been for years. What do you think? Why do new managers always try to enact new things when they start the job? To prove to them and others that now everything will be different? What's your experience with this? Let me know in the comment section below. The next story is called Just Work. This happened about 3 or 4 years ago. I worked for a big grocery store chain as a front-end cashier. I had already had some problems with my company, as they had promoted me to later rescind that promotion because of a lack of training hours. One of my assistant managers had also been harassing me, giving me all of the nightly duties and favoring daily positions assignments for her friends. Finally fed up, I turned in my 2 weeks notice. I take the 2 weeks notice extremely seriously. Remember, especially in corporations, you are extremely replaceable. The point of the 2 weeks is to give your company time to conduct interviews, have labor for the written schedules and fill your incoming vacancy. You are doing them a favor by not quitting on the spot. I submitted 2 separate 2 weeks notices. A formal one that didn't go into details and was meant as evidence of my resignation. And an informal one for my department manager explaining the poor treatment I experienced that led to my resignation. I specifically tell her to not schedule me with the bully assistant manager. The first week goes by with little to no problem. But 2 days into the second week, I arrive for my shift to find that the bully assistant manager has been scheduled as my manager on duty. Fan-freaking-tastic. I seek out my department manager and question why she has violated my condition. She explains that she has spoken to my manager on duty and that everything will be fine because I am here. So just work, okay? When I return to my department to receive my position, I see that I'm scheduled on the self-checkout station. This is by far the best station because you don't have to scan or bag. Just help older people who struggle with the machines and check IDs. Well, the bully assistant manager has commandeered my station because her knee is bothering her. I immediately smell her BS, but say nothing as I head to my normal checkout lane. Well, surprise surprise, an hour goes by and the bully's best friend has arrived for her shift. The bully's best friend's favorite position was easily the self-checkout station because, again, it's easy and she was even lazier than me. She also used the quiet moments to shop for her groceries. Time theft, anyone? Suddenly, the bully's knee is feeling 100% better. She hops off the self-checkout, sends her best friend to the station, and hops on a normal lane. I am seething. Cue malicious compliance. Grocery stores have peak times, usually around 4 to 6 p.m. when people are getting off work. Working on a register during these times can be crazy. But I was also one of the faster workers, so it's no sweat. My manager tells me to just work? Sure. I work as hard as I could. I give every customer the friendliest customer service I can and work accurately but quickly. My lane moves faster than the other open lanes, and before I know it, the peak has ended. Once sticking around for another 10 or so minutes to confirm the peak has ended, I calmly shut down my register, log out and leave. 4 hours before my shift was supposed to end. And I don't come back. Because I was between high school and college at the time, I was one of the store's most important coverage workers. I worked almost any shift, usually during peak times. This meant that my manager had to scramble to fill every single 8-hour peak shift she had given for the rest of the week. Thanks for watching this far. I hope you enjoy the stories. If you do, please leave a like. It really helps the channel. The third story is called He Demanded It. I'm a radiology resident, and luckily the facility I'm working at allows for each resident to be separated in individual workstation rooms for reading imaging. This morning I grabbed one of the rooms. I then spent a while cleaning it all up to make it safe for me to spend the day in. Another resident who showed up late came in the door. He demanded that I leave the room because it was assigned to him. Actually, it was not. I chose the room because I knew the dictation microphone didn't work. So all reports would have to be typed. And I was on a rotation that was light on volume. So it wasn't a big deal for me to type the reports. He started to squeeze his way in and box me out. And because of his persistence, I let him. I packed all of my things to head to a different room, got up and headed out the door. Right before shutting the door, I told him, "Oh, by the way, the dictaphone doesn't work in this room." I then watched him read case after case, which he has to individually type. Meanwhile, I have spent the day studying and relaxing in my new cleaned room. The last story is called $1,500 for my $50 car. This happened nearly 20 years ago. I had sold my car and a mate had a van sitting on his lawn. He owed me $50, so he said I could have it. I headed over there with my girlfriend in a taxi, picked up the beast and started heading home. On the way home, it started pouring down with rain. So we did a detour to the supermarket instead of walking later on. While driving down the narrow street, a car door opened and I plowed into it. I didn't have the chance to react. It was opened at the perfect time, so it wasn't possible. Freaking out that I just hit someone, I pulled over as quickly as possible and ran back to the car. There was a girl in the car and she was not injured but crying. And she was freaking out that her boyfriend was going to be mad as hell because she'd come down to the shops to get something for him. I told her I wasn't worried about my car because the bull bar took the hit, and if she wanted me to hang around until he got there, I could stay. Around 5 minutes later, he arrived and instantly started abusing me, accusing me of hitting his car on purpose. I politely told him that his girlfriend opened the door while I was driving past and she was parked outside the parking bay lines. So technically, it was her fault. After several minutes of abuse, I agreed that we should exchange details as I was going to get his insurance to pay for the damage to my $50 car. He laughed and started to put out his wallet. I don't think so, buddy. It's your car, but she was driving. I want her details. We exchanged details, I jumped in my car and we headed home. Several weeks go by and I received a letter in the mail demanding I pay the damage I did to his car. Quite annoyed by the insurance company, I called the local police station and explained what had happened. The officer said that normally if I were to hit a car like I did, I would be at fault. But because he knew the particular street and how narrow it was actually the other person's fault. I created my own letter, declining payment, stating why, and inserted copies of the 3 quotes I obtained from local panel beaters. I posted that letter with great enjoyment. Several weeks later, I received another letter from the insurance company. It states that their client had agreed that both parties should bear their own cost and pay for their own damages. Thinking back to how much of a jerk the BF had been, I called the insurance company. I eventually got onto a supervisor and explained the situation. If the police had attended, she would have received a fine, and so on. The supervisor went silent for a few seconds and said, "She?" Yes, she. The driver, not the owner. The person who was driving, the person whose license details I have. It turned out he had made the claim and said he was driving, not her. The conversation didn't go for much longer, but the supervisor did say that they would be passing the case to their fraud department. Several weeks later, I received a check for the damage to my $50 car. I can't remember the exact amount, but it was around $1,500. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please click on one of the suggestions that show up right now to get to another funny video. I hope you have a great day. Bye bye.